You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. The big moment finally comes. The huge presentation, the championship game, that final exam, and suddenly everything you've ever practiced just evaporates. You choke. It's this awful, universal feeling. But what if the key to beating it isn't just more physical practice, but building mental muscle? See, elite performance isn't just about what your body can do. It's really about what your mind can control. So today we're going to build your playbook for mental fitness.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll talk about why the mental game is so incredibly important. Then, we're going to pop the hood and look at the actual science of stress. After that, we'll load up your toolkit with two really powerful, really simple techniques. We'll see how the absolute best in the world use them, and then we'll wrap it all up in a final huddle. Let's get into it.
For the longest time, we've pretty much looked at success, especially in sports, through one lens: physical conditioning. Strength, speed, endurance. And don't get me wrong, those things are absolutely critical, but they're only half of the equation. The other half, the part that so often separates the good from the truly great, is all about mental fitness.
And hey, this isn't just some vague idea. Kent State University puts it perfectly. The ability to handle pressure, to stay locked in, to control your emotions, these are skills. And just like any physical skill, it means you can train them, you can practice them, and you can master them.
It's the million-dollar question, right? Why is it that our mind, which is supposed to be our greatest asset, sometimes feels like our biggest enemy right when we need it most? Well, the answer isn't that you lack skill or that you didn't prepare enough. It's actually physiological. It's a biological response that, believe it or not, we can learn to control.
So to understand how we can control that stress response, we first have to know how it works. I want you to think of your body's nervous system like it has a gas pedal and a brake pedal. When you're under pressure, your body's first instinct is to just slam its foot on the gas. But what if you could learn how to gently tap the brakes instead?
And this is how we take the wheel. The Pliability team has a great definition for breath work. It's any technique where you intentionally change your breathing. That word right there, intentional, that's the key. It's what turns breathing from something that just happens automatically into a powerful, deliberate tool you can use to manage your internal state.
Okay, so check this out. Here are the two systems in action. On one side, you have the sympathetic nervous system. That's your gas pedal. It's your fight-or-flight response. When stress hits, boom, your body gets flooded with adrenaline, your heart starts racing, and it gets you ready for action. But on the other side, you've got the parasympathetic nervous system, your brake pedal. This is your rest and digest mode. It slows everything down, helps you feel calm, and lets you recover. And here's the secret. You can actually hit that brake pedal on command.
And this is exactly how it works. The mechanism is actually shockingly simple. Researchers have found that just by taking slow, deep breaths in through your nose, you directly simulate that brake pedal, the parasympathetic nervous system. You are literally sending a direct signal to your brain that says, hey, it's cool, we're in control here. You're basically hijacking your own stress response.
And we have the data to prove it. Check this out. A study from the National Institutes of Health looked at athletes after a super tough training session. They had one group just sit quietly, while the other group spent an hour doing deep diaphragmatic breathing. And the results? Well, they were pretty staggering. The breathing group showed way lower levels of cortisol, which is the body's main stress hormone. So this isn't just about feeling calmer. It's a real, measurable change happening inside your body.
So, the science is pretty clear. The next logical question is, how do we actually apply it? So let's get practical. We're going to add two fundamental, super easy to learn plays to your performance playbook. And these are techniques you can start practicing literally today. All right, first up is diaphragmatic breathing. You might have heard it called belly breathing. This is the foundation. You just lie down, put one hand on your chest and the other on your belly. The whole goal is to breathe in deep through your nose so that the hand on your stomach rises while the hand on your chest stays pretty still. This makes sure you're getting a full breath of air and directly hitting that calming brake pedal. Next is box breathing, sometimes called tactical breathing. Now this technique is legendary. It's used by Navy SEALs, elite law enforcement, anyone in a high-stress job because it's so good at restoring calm and focus. And it's incredibly simple. You just inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold again for 4. That simple rhythm gives your racing mind something to focus on other than whatever is stressing you out.
Now, as you practice these, just keep a few key principles in mind. First, always try to breathe through your nose. It's just more effective at hitting that brake pedal. Second, when you're at rest, your breathing should be quiet. That's a sign of efficiency. And third, you know that classic picture of a tired athlete with their hands behind their head? Well, it turns out a 2019 study showed that putting your hands on your knees is actually a better way to recover. Who knew?
So we've got the science, and we have the techniques. But does this stuff actually work when the stakes are at their absolute highest? Let's look at the proof with some lessons from some of the most elite performers on the entire planet. The Blue Angels are, they're the pinnacle of precision flying. And before every single show, they have this pre-flight briefing that's described as a meditative-like ritual. They don't just talk about the flight plan, they mentally fly it. Eyes closed, hands moving like they're on the controls, rehearsing every single call, every turn. They get completely in the bubble.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures the level of focus they get to. A former Blue Angel, John Gucci Foley, tells a story about his training. His mentor didn't just tell him to look for a white house as a checkpoint. He said, "I want you to see the green shade on the upper window." When you can focus your mind with that kind of insane detail, all the chaos of the moment just melts away.
And this kind of mental training gets tangible results. In a study on police performance, officers who got just a few quick instructions on tactical breathing performed about 12% better in a critical incident simulation than the control group. And get this, they didn't even say they felt less stressed. Their performance just got better. Their minds were just more focused. And it's not just pilots and cops. High-level fighters use this stuff all the time. They use detailed visualization to pre-program their minds for a win. They will mentally walk through every single thing: the smell of the locker room, the roar of the crowd, the feeling of the canvas under their feet, and most importantly, the moment their hand is raised in victory. By running that mental simulation over and over, the real thing starts to feel familiar, not terrifying.
Okay, let's bring it all in for a final huddle. We've talked about the why, the how, and the who. Now, let's boil it all down to the crucial takeaways you need to remember.
So here's what you really need to take away from this. First, remember that stress isn't just in your head. It's a physical thing happening in your body, and you can manage it with your breath. Techniques like diaphragmatic and box breathing are your go-to tools. And as we saw from the absolute best performers, mental practice is a real trainable skill. The key is to practice the stuff in low-stress situations first, so it becomes second nature when the pressure is really on.
Look, at the end of the day, we spend countless hours training our